Our video today concerns Hungary. Now, if you have not been following European news, you'll probably be like, Hungary? What is that? Well, Hungary is a country in Central Europe, and the reason we're talking about it today is because of its diminishing democracy thanks to this man, Viktor Orban, a man whose name sounds like a cartoon villain with the appearance of a mafia boss. Now, Orban is the leader of the ruling Fidesz party, who have been in power for 15 years. Now, 15 years is an acceptable duration of time for many things, such as being in a relationship or Duolingo streak, but being a prime minister for 15 years is quite unsettling in a democratic country. Now, the reason behind Orban's exceptionally long tenure might be because of his dictator-like actions, which we will get to in a second, but first of all, just to give you an idea of how dictator-like he is in the eyes of other people, just look at this clip.
The dictator is coming. Dictator?
Not the usual greeting you would expect to hear at an EU get-together.
The dictator's coming? Yeah, I agree. This is not your usual EU greeting. And I don't know, man, if your fellow heads of state say that you're a dictator, this seems a pretty good indication that you might be. And so today, let's talk about Viktor Orban and whether he actually is a dictator. But first of all, a bit of Hungarian history. Now, before 1989, Hungary was a part of what was called the Eastern Bloc. Now, what does that mean? Is basically Hungary was a Soviet puppet. There was economic stagnation, political repression, and there was a revolution in 1956, which was eventually suppressed. Now, of course, that regime eventually collapsed, and so did communist rule in Hungary. And after that, Hungary began to hold free multi-party elections. But, of course, with any new democracy, there are some challenges, but the democratic principles are relatively mostly upheld. And that is until Viktor Orban came along and started his prime minister term. Now, since Orban took office, Hungary has been in a state of democratic backsliding, which is exactly what it sounds like. Democratic backsliding is basically a democracy slowly shifting towards authoritarianism. Even Orban himself have envisioned Hungary as an illiberal democracy. And come on, Victor, if you want to be a dictator, at least make it less obvious. Also, illiberal democracy, it's not a democracy. It's like saying cold fire, bright smoke, or a good Kanye song. It doesn't exist. Now, moving on to his foreign actions. Orban has blocked Sweden from joining NATO. He is pro-Russia, which means he has blocked EU aid to Ukraine.
És adni 50 milliárd eurót az ukránoknak. Tehát lényegében a magyarok pénzét, a tagállamok pénzét, köztük a magyarok pénzét is akarták odaadni Ukrajnának. És mondtam, hogy na ez már egy konkrét jogsérelem, álljunk meg, ezt meg kell vétóznom. Tehát nem több pénzt kéne küldeni a háborúra, hanem meg kéne állítani a háborút, és fegyverszünet kellene, meg béketárgyalások.
All of which made Hungary an extremely problematic member in both the EU and NATO. And the EU have even freezed funds for Hungary, but there's just one catch. Why doesn't the other EU countries just kick Hungary out? Well, they can't because according to the EU Charter, there's no way for member states to be kicked. So basically what is happening right now is Hungary is that one friend who came to the party sober, then got drunk, and then made a scene, and then refused to leave. Because for some reason, Orban doesn't actually want to leave EU. Now next up, Orban's domestic policy. He have imposed censorship, limited the independence of a judiciary, and in March 2025, he had banned an LGBTQ parade. Now, another thing is that Orban absolutely hate NGOs or non-governmental organizations. Now, what NGOs does is basically they provide a wide range of services and they advocate for social, humanitarian, and environmental causes. They deliver essential services like healthcare and education and offer humanitarian aid, eliminating poverty, protecting the environment, and promote human rights. Now, that is exactly what Orban is against. Now, do note that the policies Orban support are also supported by his party, the Fidesz party. And this is a Fidesz member of parliament being asked, why are they so against NGOs?
What are NGOs doing to support that illegal migration?
There are lots, so I wouldn't like to say name of NGOs because I wouldn't like to accuse one or other NGOs, but you can find a lot of articles in Hungary which describe this situation.
But NGOs are still supporting, in your view, illegal migration in Hungary?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, NGOs are supporting illegal migration, and I have no evidence, and I can't name a single one, but please believe me, NGOs support illegal migration. Now, speaking of immigration, Orban is extremely anti-immigration, and this is a clip of Orban clashing with former Chancellor Angela Merkel about the subject.
The German Chancellor and Hungarian Prime Minister clashed on the migration issue. That humanity is the soul of Europe, and if we want to protect this soul, if Europe with its values wants to play a role in the world, then Europe cannot simply close its eyes from the need and from the suffering. But we consider it unfair that often we're being accused of having a lack of solidarity in Germany. And I want to tell you that 8,000 guards are stationed along the border, 24 hours a day, protecting a border that would let migrants into Germany if they passed it. If armed Hungarian guards did not protect the Hungarian-Serbia and Hungarian-Croatia borders, 4,000 to 5,000 migrants would come to Germany every day. We are protecting them. This is solidarity, a pretty good solidarity. This is Hungary's border with Serbia, which was built specifically to keep out illegal immigrants during the crisis in 2015 after saying the EU was too slow to act.
You know, something about this feels eerily similar. A leader being obsessed with the southern border and illegal migration. Yeah, it's just like Donald Trump in a way. Let's move on to another infamous event during Orban's administration, and that involves Hungarian-American businessman George Soros. Now, George Soros is a businessman, but he's also a philanthropist, and he has done a lot of democratic activism, including in Hungary. And that, of course, made him a target of Orban, and just look at what he decided to do.
The campaign turned this man, George Soros, Hungarian-born billionaire and philanthropist, into a national hate figure. For 25 years, Soros has funded organizations that champion liberal democracy. That made him an open critic of Orban's government. The anti-Soros rhetoric was fierce and unrelenting. The implication was unmistakable. Attack Orban, and you are attacking Hungary itself.
Now, this campaign, known as Stop Soros, is straight up censorship. It is also considered anti-Semitic due to some of the remarks that were made about Soros, who is Jewish. Now, all of this brings down to one question. Why do people support Viktor Orban? The answer is fear. He is brewing people's fear and manipulating them based on their emotions. He appealed mostly to conservatives, claiming to defend Christian values against the ongoing crisis and the bullying by Brussels and other big EU powers. And there were a lot of conservatives in Hungary, but they were easily deceived by Orban, which ended up with him gaining massive amounts of support. Now, this is what was happening in Hungary for the last 15 years when Orban have won 4 elections consecutively. But let's end this video with a possibility that Orban might lose the next election, because recently there is a new opposition party called TISA with its leader called Peter Major. And in recent opinion polling, TISA has been rapidly climbing and in some cases overtaking Fidesz as the most popular party. And the next Hungarian election is in 2026, which means Major and the TISA party might win the election. Now, we don't know for sure yet, and there's a lot of uncertain things. But one thing is for sure, next time Hungary goes to an EU meeting, we sure hope the other heads of government won't be like, "Here comes the dictator."